Welcome back to Red Tales. Today we'll be hearing about a man dealing with the effects of his wife's affair 8 years later. Let's get going. 8 years after my wife's affair. Old feelings resurface. Want to go through with the divorce. Background. Wife and I have been married for 13 years now. We recently had our second child and things were really stressful around the house. I noticed my wife was distant to me, and as soon as I'd come home she'd often take off, saying that she needed time away from the children. Me, being the loving, caring husband, accepted that and after working all day would take care of them. However, things weren't right. She would often come home extremely late, and after our second child, intimacy pretty much died out in our marriage. Again, I attributed to her being stressed out and offered to take on a bigger amount of chores. What tipped me off one day was when I was looking at her car mileage. It was going up much faster than it should have been. Her friends' houses weren't far away. After installing a voice recorder in the car and further snooping, I discovered she was having an affair. I ended up confronting her. Things were intense. I had a lot of pride, but I sucked it up because I know how shitty growing in a one-parent household is. I did my best to repress my feelings and try to put on a happy face. Every so often, I'd end up having to ask her more and more details about the affair. What positions, what was he like? It was poison to me that I needed to take. However, after a while I think I could tell my wife started to lie about the details. It went from specific detail to it was just routine. From everything I read about infidelity is that because the sex is under secrecy, and the risk involved, that it's almost always intense. That combined with the fact my wife used to tell me in detail, I was sure she was lying. But I did my best and decided to move on. However, I don't think because I got all the detail the wounds ever really healed. Wife was really remorseful and did a lot to regain my trust. I told her how I felt on how she will always have an upper hand in the marriage now, because of the power imbalance, because I overlooked her affair. She told me that she wanted me to have an affair too, so that way I could get even. But I turned her down. Whenever I'd have women coming on to me, I'd start to get angry. Thinking I had the decency not to sleep around, why couldn't she? Before we got married I was always successful with women, and especially after marriage I'd always was looked favorably upon by women. But I eventually was able to stop thinking about it, after meditation and talking to my therapist. She became a much better mother, just an overall better partner than even before we started dating. We went on vacations together, started becoming the ideal American family. Happy husband, wife, 2 children, middle-class utopia. However, over the past 8 months, things started to spiral downwards. It started with my wife having problems with her lady parts regarding wetness, and it was believed to be from menopause. This really started to reinforce into my head that I deserved better than this. I know this sounds horrible, but I started to think of my wife as dried up. I never told her this, but the women that were coming on to me were much younger, and normally I'd be all up for staying by a woman till death do us part. But I started to think again, but that's only for faithful women. Look, I know this is going to come off as hateful, but these are my honest thoughts and emotions. Then the next big thing in our relationship happened. We were at a school event for our daughter. While we were there I ended up meeting my wife's affair partner for the first time. He saw me with my wife, and walked straight towards me and started to apologize. Before, I never had an image of him to connect with my thoughts. All those old feelings resurfaced all over again. And it fueled the flames even more. I started noticing too, that around the house, I'd start to think of things to get angry at my wife about. I didn't express my feelings of anger and resentment to my wife. I have thought about these feelings for a long time now. One thing our counselor told us was that there are 2 types of people in the world. Those that can get over affairs and those that can't. Before I convinced myself that I was one of those people that can look past it. Now I don't think I ever did. I have thought about my situation for months, even talked to my best friend and his wife about it, and they feel like I am making the right decision. I am not asking to be convinced out of not divorcing my wife. That is pretty much set in stone. My question to you all is, how do I approach it? I feel like I am doing a disservice to her because she has been a loving wife for 8 years and has done everything she possibly could to make up for it. So I don't know what to tell her. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I know a lot of you are going to hate my words, but I told you how I truly feel. I hope you can respect that and offer me advice instead of telling me my feelings are wrong. The hardest part about all this is right now my wife doesn't even think for the slightest that there is anything wrong with our marriage. She thinks we are perfect. I have kept these feelings bottled up, and I don't know how she is going to react to all this. TLDR, wife had an affair 8 years ago. I did my best to get over it. However, recent events make me feel like I never did get over it, and that I deserve better than what I have now. OP faced severe criticism for his comments about his wife in this situation. It's likely that his thoughts were influenced by his resentment towards his wife. Although he claims to have resolved it, it appears that he has simply buried his feelings instead. He was supposed to have moved on from the affair, so needed justification for his anger and bitterness. I also question whether he has exaggerated the amount of attention he's received from younger women to further justify his resentment. It's not surprising that his condition worsened significantly after meeting the affair partner. Being cheated on can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, such as flashbacks and an obsession with the affair. Therefore, unexpectedly confronting the infidelity could have elicited a much greater emotional response than he anticipated. I don't agree with the therapist who said that some people can get over it while others can't. This is an overly simplistic view of people, who are complex beings. It suggests that there's something inherently wrong with the partner who can't move on from the affair, when in reality, the details of the infidelity play a more significant role. A spouse who actively cheats and lies is vastly different from one who makes a single mistake and is honest about it. Even if both partners do everything necessary to make amends, the former is still more likely to fail. That's the end of today's tale. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed your time here. Hit the like button if you did, and subscribe to Red Tales to get more content like this delivered straight to you. Have a wonderful day.